Hey everybody, Sean with the Good Dog, and we've got Miss Daisy here for her third and official prong collar walk. She's got some gunky stuff. Let me clean that out. There we go. Now we're good. Gotta look pretty for the camera. So her third walk. So this should be hopefully a nice kind of a nice sequence of walks where you can check in and see like, okay, how did she look first on the first walk? What did Sean do as far as how did he use the leash? How much pressure? How strict was he as far as the accountability and her position and things like that? Moving on into the second walk, and then starting to ask a little bit more the actual leash interactions as far as corrections and how I manipulated the leash were different. And so that started to evolve. She got more relaxed, less concerned about Marta moving around the camera and other things. So we started to see some nice progress with that. So now we're on the third walk, and hopefully it will be a continuous cycle of progress, and she won't regress and pancake and gator roll and all that fun stuff. So let's, uh-oh, we got a little sniper over there. So we're gonna head this way, see how we do, and go from there. You guys ready? Daisy, you ready? Once again, check in on your basics. Prong collar fitted, nice and snug. Leash, short but not tight. Relax. Make sure you also have, one thing I don't think I've talked about, make sure you also have a concept in your mind of what you're looking for. So that doesn't mean your dog's going to give you exactly what you're looking for, and it doesn't mean that you have to adhere, you know, like tyrannically to like, this is what it's got. But it's good to have a plan, good to have a game plan of what you're shooting for, and then see how close you can get to that game plan. So if you just kind of go out willy-nilly and like, well, let's see what happens, you'll get somewhere, but it may not be as far as you can get or as good as you can get. So I know what I want to see today. I want to see a relaxed, confident, nice positioned, very solid heel on Prong with, almost said Millie, with Daisy. And that's what I'm shooting for. And how close we'll get to it, we'll see. But I like to have a goal set before we go. Ready? Okay. Heel. And if you watch my hand, you notice that I'm loosening up the leash a little bit because it was a little bit snug. Now we've got a dog over here, so we're going to cross, give us some space. Cat. Heel. So that's our first correction so far. Just got a little bit in front of me. Still concerned about Marta behind her? Nope. So right there, just so you guys know, she went to go over to the bush and...
Nice auto sit.
What's that?
Nice auto sit.
Thanks. I sent that to her through a mental message. So she was going towards the bush. I said no and gave her a little tiny pop on the prong. So I use no for any of that kind of stuff. Could you say heel and correct? You could, but I like the no as far as what it delivers value-wise. Don't do that thing. So, yep. Walk up to the corner, plant your feet. Good. So a messy auto sit, but an auto sit nonetheless. Why was it messy? Because Marta was moving around her, so she was trying to keep eyes on Marta, like what's going on, everything cool, what's happening. But I just waited. I just watched, and then she planted her butt. So nice work, lady. And we're gonna head over here through these brand new New Orleans slalom courses for bicyclists and God only knows what else. We'll see how long this lasts. Yep. Yep. Remember what I said about walking out into like the open street compared to the sidewalk? You'll oftentimes see more monkey business. So heel. I gave her a little correction at the beginning, a little correction at the end, just because she got a little bit loose. And I'm once again loosening up the leash just a little bit. Give her a little more slack. Just make sure it's absolutely got no tension on it. Yo. So she did a little like slow down sniff and then catapulted forward. That is not allowed. And if I would have caught her when she was slowing down and saw what she was doing, then I would have popped her for that and said heel. Why? Because heel is for position. No is for untoward activities. Keep it simple, guys. So you stay back there. Let's see how this works. Good. Auto sits are looking great. So within 3 walks, we're already seeing some really nice progress with the auto sits. You saw how I cultivated them through light leash pressure, cueing off of my foots, cueing off my feet, stopping simultaneously, and then leash pressure. So the sequence is I stop first, and it's good. You don't have to stomp like military style, right? But come to a nice like abrupt stop where it's noticeable as a cue. And eventually that cue can get softer and softer. Right now I want it to be pretty abrupt and very noticeable. And then so first step, I stop, plant my feet, then that gives her the opportunity to sit. And if we take a few steps back, the sequence is I stop, plant my feet, then apply a little bit of gentle leash pressure straight up, not a jerk, not a pop, just soft leash pressure till the butt hits the ground, relax the leash pressure, mark it with good, and that's how you build it. Right now, we're a little bit past the building because she's doing it on her own, right? Makes sense? So we've got the build, stop, leash pressure up, butt hits the ground, mark it with good. Now we've got stop, butt hits the ground, mark it with good. And that's basically how you start the process of teaching auto sit. Nope. And then that can move on to e-collar and things like that very easily. Heel. Heel. So you notice like as soon as she gets out, heel. As soon as she gets out here on the street, more pulling, more looseness. Then she gets on the sidewalk, back into a groove. So as soon as context changes, which is the street, the open street, we see different decisions going down. So you could obviously, let's cross heel. You could obviously infer that, well, crap, we need to do more practice on the street. And that's probably a really good suggestion. Heel. A really good suggestion, meaning if you find that your dog is giving you some kind of loosey-goosey action on the sidewalks or open street versus, did I say sidewalks? On the crosswalks. If your dog crossing the street or walking in the street in general is giving you a harder time and is more loosey-goosey, then I would practice more heel, practice more there. Initially, I love the sidewalk just because, as you can see, it creates a nice runway. Like basically, it limits the parameters of what we're teaching to just pretty much forward and back. Here's the position. Good. So why did she take so long? Because Marta's shuffling over there and making lots of noise while she's walking out in the street. So that distracted her, and she would have probably sat sooner, but there was kind of a foot thing, and that was enough. For a youngster like this, that's enough for them to get distracted. So it's no big deal, and I'm just kind of making fun right now. But that's why she didn't plant her rear right away. Something as subtle as that. So if you're, here's an important thing to think about, which is as you move through this process of asking your dog to auto sit for you more and more in higher levels of distraction, do just that. Move through it through higher levels of distraction where you start to ask more incrementally. But don't come out on your first handful of walks, and if there are distractions around, start nailing your dog for not auto sitting if they're distracted by something. If they look at you and they're like, nah, not gonna do it, different story. But if your dog is distracted by people or other dogs and things like that, give them a second. Give them a second to kind of figure it out, see where they're going with it. And then as you move through it and you're in your second week, maybe you start asking a little bit more. You're in your third week, you ask more. Your fourth week, it's like, you better plant your rear. I don't care what's going down, right? So it's going to be dog dependent. Some dogs are going to be more stable, more confident, less jumpy, and they'll move through that process more quickly. Some are going to be more nervy and just everything's going to, like, you know, freak them out and bother them. So anyways, just something to think about as you're building it, just to make sure you're fair to the dog. Yep. 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 So that was a situation where just a tiny bit of like getting out of position when we were crossing the street. And then when we got back on the sidewalk, because the sidewalk was so kind of like that, she actually sped up, kind of trying to get over the hump of the sidewalk. I still corrected her for it because I want her to get used to, and it was a very mild correction, but I still want her to get used to the fact of, like, okay, things are going to move, sidewalk's going to get wacky, heel. Sidewalk's going to get wacky. You still have to hold your position as best as possible. I'm going to be super realistic and super fair about it. If she's really struggling due to some physical obstacles, I'm not going to ask her to be in this like perfect heel or anything like that. Go potty. So I'd say she looks nice, nicely improved. She's not perfect by any stretch, but that's not how dog training goes. Typically, you don't go from a couple sessions into perfect, but you do make a nice, hopefully nice consistent arc. And she's looking like she's right on that arc of, like, from nervous Nelly, moving forward and backwards, trying a bunch of things, to a little bit less, which means she's moving up the arc of progress, to today where she's even less nervous, auto sitting, and holding it together pretty darn well. A couple corrections here and there just a reminder, but looking pretty good. Ready? Yep. So we got dogs over there if you want to flash over. Yep. So heel. So why did I say heel instead of no when she was looking at those dogs? Well, that's a good question. I could have said no, but actually she was in my hierarchy of indiscretions that she was engaged in. She was pulling way more out of position than her staring. Now, not that her staring wasn't causing her to come out of position, but her position was the thing that was the most problematic. So that's why I went with heel. Could I have said no? Like I've shared already, absolutely. So it's up to you to decide how you want to navigate these commands. So we'll come to a nice little stop right here. So she does. Good. That's a girl. Look at you with your auto sits. Very nice. All right. Yep. So even there, she was a little bit loosey-goosey. I was rearranging my leash grip, so I wasn't in any position to actually correct her for that. But once again, you get to see a young dog with just a prong on, learning how to walk really nicely. And for most owners, I mean, just the owners we've already passed so far, none of them have had a dog walking as nicely as this. And all of their dogs have appeared to be more mature, adult dogs. So it's a good check-in about what's possible. And that in just a handful of days, we can get a youngster like this. Good. Yep. Once again, foraging out as we go across the street. That's something that we definitely want to make sure she gets really great with. So really nice walk. Couple reminders here and there, but man, not too shabby. Yep. Okay. Nope. Nope. Good. Yep. And better that time. Not darting out, so that's nice. Okay, so dog right there. I'm gonna go around. Once again, she's holding it together even out in the street, so that's good news. And then we bubble back in. Good. Yep. And pretty good positioning. A little distracted, but not too bad. Yep. Yep. And we're going to cross. Yep. Okay, gang, so that's Daisy's third walk on leash and prong. She's looking super awesome, and we're seeing a nice arc of progress, and that's really all we want to see. She's not supposed to be spectacular and just have it all together in one fell swoop. You just got to be patient, and if you go back and you watch the videos, you'll see that I was giving her a little more leeway early on and then slowly narrowing the parameters of what was acceptable. And as we've been going through the progression of these walks, it's been getting narrower and narrower and narrower and narrower until heel's very specific. We're getting those auto sits pretty much consistently every time. And she's looking great. So this is what's possible, leash and prong and a little bit of technique and being consistent, and you get some great stuff. So Daisy, nice work, lady. Nice work.